Are you familiar with the custom-bib package?
Only vaguely. I'm aware that it exists, but and I have spent more time than I would like adapting BST files to various needs. The idea of a BST file is a very good one. The language that it's implemented in is a reverse Polish language like Forth and PostScript. And that, frankly, is a bad idea. For those of you who are unfamiliar with such languages, they don't follow the normal procedure of having a set of declarations, assignments, and function calls, where the function name comes first and then a parenthesis and a list of arguments and a closed parenthesis. Instead, what happens is arguments get pushed onto a stack at various times in the program. And at some point, the function is called, at which point it pops off the arguments it expects and proceeds. And you can imagine this is not bad if the arguments are all pushed one after another, but frequently in such languages, they get pushed at various times. And so it's very difficult to tell if you have everything on the stack that you ought to have and nothing more and nothing less. And it leads to nightmares and debugging and inserting print statements to trace things. And Bibtex has an unfortunate limitation that the command that prints its stack that contain the arguments also destroys the stack. So this basically means you can put in a print statement, find out what went wrong, and terminate at that point because you cannot proceed further. So it's been a very frustrating environment to work in. And I wish we had something better. There certainly have been attempts to do so, but we don't have a generic solution. Perhaps a major thing at the root of the problem is the insistence of publishers and journal editors on having unique bibliography styles, when in reality, pretty much every publication that's ever had a bibliography would do just fine with a list of numbered references in a form that a human could recognize, a list of authors, title, journal, and so on. But publishers feel that we have to have a semicolon here, the other publisher wants a colon there, the other one wants an end dash, and so on, and it gets to be a nightmare of styles. We have more than 400 Bibtex style files in the archives at present. And frankly, that's nuts.
I mean, I agree with that. And in fact, just today, I went through the 8th proof of a journal article and its problems with the references. And in fact, the journal has their own Bibtex style file, but the problem is they don't follow it. So they say, use these macros. I did. It looked beautiful. And then the typesetters change it to something completely different. But usually, if the journal says we support Bibtex, you use it and they get what they want. And as an author, of course, you've got no possibility to argue with the journal and say, I think it should be a colon instead of a semicolon, or use numbered references or whatever. You have no control over that at all. So at least it's good that you can use Bibtex to give them what they want. It's another problem if they don't do what they should with that. But for those who haven't used it, the custom-bib package, you basically run a procedure and it asks you questions and like, you know, should the author's initials be before or after the last name? Do you want space between the initials if there's more than one initial? You know, do you want the title in italics? Do you want a colon here or a comma? Should the journal volume be bold? Things like this. Everyone who's ever done a reference list understands exactly what the questions are. You answer the questions, and then it produces a Bibtex style file, which does what you told it to. So it's possible to create a perfect Bibtex style file with a custom bib program without knowing anything at all about the language Bibtex is implemented in. So from a user point of view, it's really great. The reason I mention it is because I exchanged a few emails a few weeks ago with Patrick Daly, who developed it, and I asked him what the status is. And my impression was that he's already retired or close to it and hasn't done anything with it in years. So it'd sort of be a shame if it fell out of use. I think I might have found a very minor bug in it, which is why I contacted him. But it's certainly, if anyone wants to make their own Bibtex style file and you've been afraid of this language Bibtex is implemented in, check out the custom-bib package, which I think is part of every C10 distribution. And it's just, you just run it and answer the questions and it produces something. So it's a really great tool. And I think it allows maybe that's why we have so many Bibtex style files, because maybe they were produced by custom-bib and it's easy to produce them. I certainly don't think that 400 people have learned the Bibtex language enough to write their own style file.
I have a question for Philip.
Yes.
So with respect to this package, do you have to interact with it? Or can you answer the questions using some way that you don't have to point and click to things?
Well, I just ran it from the command line. And it, basically asks sort of yes, no questions, things like that.
But you still have to be there to physically answer them, is what I'm getting at. Like you can't just run a make file or something along those lines to automatically use it.
Oh, you probably could.
I expect that the answers are stored or could be stored somewhere and could be edited. I mean,
but I don't see the point because it's something you do basically once.
It sounds a bit like the experts you get for setting up a Django project. Where do you want to keep this? Where do you want to keep that? What's the password for this? These sorts of admin sort of tools. And the data is usually stored somewhere where it can be used again. Nowadays, JSON is a very widely used form of storing configuration data, just because it's flexible and widely available. So I expect that if custom-bib doesn't use JSON, it could be made to, and that would probably answer Kelly's questions quite well.